All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Billy Dees Podcast. I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you have never checked out the podcast before, we are primarily a commentary and an interview podcast. You can find the Billy Dees Podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. You can find me on Twitter at Billy Dees. Interview time this episode, and we are going to be talking about astrology. And with me on the studio line is Patricia Tate. Patricia, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Welcome. Patricia Tate is the owner and operator of Willow Grace Mystik LLC. Now you and I are both actually from the same part of the world. Now you're from Ohio. You're from Canton. Is that correct?
Yes, I live in northeastern Ohio and love to travel.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Northeast Ohio. It's actually a great place to live. It's a wonderful area of the world. And let me kind of start with some basics here, because a lot of times when people hear the word astrology, the first thing that comes to mind is the sign. You know, what sign are you? You know, the oldest or the pickup line in the world when you walk into a bar is, "Hey, what's your sign?" You know, but it's more than that. And so when we talk about astrology, what all does that encompass? It's an old practice, right? It's been around a long time.
Been around forever, and every country has its own type of astrology. And so your astrology is based on your exact date, time, and location of your birth. And it literally creates a map of who you are with the planets that are in the sky and visible, and the planets that are below the horizon and not visible. And so the date, time, and location sets up the houses because astrology is the houses and the planets and the
Mhm.
symbols all woven into a story about who you are. You're more than just your sun sign.
Okay. Interesting. Patricia's going to maybe have some information about me. Not that I'm that interesting, but we'll get to that. How did you? Let me ask you this: young girl growing up, what were your interests? Were you into school? You know, were you academically inclined? I know you have several master's degrees, so you definitely found it easy to be in school. You loved learning. Were you athletic, or what were your interests growing up? I'm kind of curious where this is going. Is I want to find out how astrology got on your radar.
So, astrology is all math. It is the placement of the planets and how things move. And I love school, always taking classes, always taking workshops. I think I'm going to be a forever student and a forever teacher. Absolutely love it. And like, just have not stopped yet. And so, astrology made sense to me. I had an aunt who read poems. I was raised in like not a traditional home, and so gravitated to things that made a little bit more sense to me, and that was
Hmm.
astrology and numerology and Reiki and palmistry and divination and dreams, because I dream. I see movies in my head, and um, the tarot and astrology is what made the movies in my head make sense with the symbols.
Interesting. The other word that I'm going to ask you about, because when people hear the word mystic, sometimes that can provoke. I don't want to say provoke. Maybe that's a strong word, but sometimes people get a little nervous when they hear the word
Yeah.
mystic, because they associate it with something that is, anti-religion, something
Oh
that
no.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. And can you talk a little bit about what being a mystic is?
So there's different forms of energy and different forms of like shamanism is the oldest, and like think indigenous or Native American people. And a mystic is somebody who believes in many different things and one overall theme. And so I do believe that there's a higher power. I do believe that everything is connected, and I believe in energy, and I believe that people can feel it and give it off and receive it. And I work with the energy of not just the planets, but of my understanding my dreams
Hmm.
and working with people.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at was maybe not anti-religion
It's
isn't
the
the
fear.
word. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the fear, and I think sometimes people associate the word mysticism with dark forces. I kind of think
Oh
that's
no. Yeah,
yeah. That,
no.
so
No.
that's kind of what I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted to make sure we kind of let the audience know a little. Sometimes, like when you're talking about things like this, I try to cover them a little bit so the audience has some backstory in terms of some of these terms and what they mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so young girl growing up. When did astrology start to become something that was important in your life?
I was about in middle school, and then in high school, I think, as soon as I graduated from high school, I had my first past life regression, and then through that, everything just started to fall into place of things that I needed to do that I wasn't learning, I was remembering some things
Hmm.
from the past, and it just made things a little bit it made sense of things, of why certain things happen cyclical and why there's connections. Like to have an instant connection to somebody, well, it's in your chart. And to need to have difficulty with somebody, it's in your chart. It's you are learning. I look at Earth as this is when we are learning. This is school for us every day to evolve higher for our best and highest good.
Okay, very good. So it's all really positive. I know a lot of times people think that this is anti or in what's the word I'm looking for? In opposition to their faith. Or it's
Hmm.
something that you've
Where
been
do they think the
warned.
messages come from?
Yeah.
I don't know.
uh, well, I've always heard like
Yeah.
one of the things that I've always heard was beware of those who predict the future. That was one of the
Oh,
warnings that you always got. So I just want here again for the audience. I just want to know that this isn't necessarily something that is something needs to be that you need to be frightened of, or
no.
is counter to your religious beliefs,
No.
or anything like that. Okay,
No, because
now.
like laying of hands in the church is the same as energy work. Energy transfers from one person to another. Everybody gets that creepy feeling or that happy, jovial, good feeling. No, you can call it God, Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, your higher power, divine. It's all under an umbrella of a higher power for
Very
good.
good. Okay, now you created something called Oracle Deck.
Right. So
Yeah, or
yeah.
you recreate. Let me rephrase that. You created an Oracle deck called
Yes.
Elemental Wisdom. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes. So tarot, there's tarot and oracle that you use it as a form of divination. Some people use pendulums, some people use tarot, astrology, and an oracle deck is it's made up of however many cards that you choose. And so I took what I knew about astrology and what I knew about the seasons, because the seasons are connected to astrology and numerology and the images and pictures that go along with the seasons. And so it's made up of fire, earth, air, and water. And then you draw a card, and from the card, there's some words on it, and then you're supposed to use the picture that goes along with it. So the picture could be something that represents the Fibonacci sequence, or a fairy ring, or water, or a spider web, and then it has words that go along with it. So sometimes they're listed as positive affirmation cards. Like you can
Hmm.
find them at bookstores. Well, you draw a card and it's a positive affirmation, or they have biblical verses.
Okay.
These have verses, or not verses, these have words on them that go along with what you are going through to help you work through what you're going through.
Okay. What is the difference between astrology and numerology?
Hmm. Numerology is based solely on numbers, and astrology is based on the planets in the sky and the location of the planets and the movement of where they are and what's going on and how it affects us, how they collide together, and how they reflect or bounce off of. And so most people know about Mercury retrograde. Like whenever somebody says, "Oh,
Hmm.
Mercury must be retrograde," well, Mercury controls or is represents our travel, our uh, thoughts, our ideas, our technology, phone, email. It's anything that
Hmm.
has to do with communication. So whenever Mercury is retrograde, that's a time that we slow down, stop, review, go back, and rethink, redo things. And so that's the one planet that most people are familiar with is Mercury when it
Sure.
goes retrograde.
Interesting. All right. Well, I know that you let's talk a little bit about Willow Grace Mystik. Is Willow Grace, well, is there anything about that name that holds significance?
So willow is the tree that grandmother willow, strong roots and strong on top. So as above, so below. It's the tree
Hmm.
that bends but doesn't break. And the grace is to remind me to say things with grace, um, and to
Oh,
stop and pause because I generally just burst things out without pausing.
yeah. I would imagine that you've been confronted, let's say, by skeptics once in a while.
Mhm.
Do they anger you? Are they generally treated? Or do they generally treat you well? What is your relationship with people that are, and there's all kinds of skeptics. There's people who are not religious,
Absolutely.
and there's people who don't put a lot of stake in any type of spirituality. So what do you say to skeptics? I mean, my answer is there's like what 7.5 billion people on earth, and if we're all really honest with each other, we all have a little version of our reality that we're comfortable with. So there's 7.5 little billion religions, that we all kind of subscribe to. We all have a version of reality that makes us comfortable. What is your answer a lot of times when people say that this is not a thing?
Well, those are well, if they're commenting on my YouTube, they're obviously listening.
Yeah.
So, I know that something resonates with them. A lot of times people work from fear and they do not like it that if somebody else knows something or is able to predict something, and it's not like predicting, okay, there's going to be an accident. That's not what it's about. It's about talking about themes in life that are going to be coming up for lessons that are learned. And some people are uncomfortable with that. And for
Yeah.
that, I wish them well.
Interesting. Okay. The service that you provide under Willow Grace Mystic. Okay, obviously there's astrology readings and things like that, but if you were to describe, I have a feeling that talking to you, and I've met you in person. I've met you out at marketing groups and things like that. I have a feeling that you are a very sensitive person. I have a feeling that you bring a humanity to your work, and it's more than just okay, well, here's your sign and here's what it is. I have a feeling you put a lot of yourself into this. How would you describe what you do at Willow Grace Mystic? What all is encompassed in the services there?
So I offer tarot readings, and a tarot reading is often like it's use of the cards. Some people just come and they just want a quick answer to something. I do tarot on taps at some of the local wineries around here,
Okay.
and then the astrology. I also teach astrology. The astrology readings, I do natal chart consultations, which is all about you, your birth. What are your lessons? What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And then I do a year ahead, and we can discuss what does your year look like. What
Yeah.
like, and then I could do synastry charts between two people. Sometimes people will come and say, uh, can you do my spouse and myself, and we want to look at strengths and weaknesses, and we can talk about this is going to be an area that this person just cannot budge, and this is why you're meant to be in this person's life, and then this is where you're going to have ease and grace. And so there's so much that you can pull from it that each, and some people will just call and say, okay, this is what's going on. Can you just take a look at the chart and let me know, is there going to be like about timing? When is there going to be an end to something?
Very good. I know you prepared a reading about me, or at least you have some information about me. Do you want to share with the audience? Not that I'm not that interesting, but some information about me.
So I ran your chart, and you are a Gemini rising, and your north node is there. So Gemini, the rising sign, the three most important signs that you should know are your sun, your moon, your rising. Your sun is
Okay.
where you shine. Your moon is what needs to be met in order for you to feel good. And your rising is what you are learning to be and rising to become in this lifetime. So you're a
Okay.
Gemini rising. So all Mercury retrogrades are going to affect you with technology, email, problem with travel. Your north node is there, meaning this is the direction in which you are supposed to be going in this lifetime. In your past lifetimes, your south node, you were focused on relationships or partnerships. And in this lifetime, the goal is to be, I need to focus on me and where am I going in this lifetime. Your sun is in Aquarius. I love Aquarius. Aquarius, I think I describe as let your freak flag fly. So people may
Hmm.
not know that about you, in that you can talk to anybody. You can talk to a transient or a CEO. Aquarius looks at not the visual of the person, but
Hmm.
looks through them and at them, at their soul. Aquarius wants to support the whole. They think of like hive mind, and they want to bring information generally through airwaves, technology, or some form of communication, and they want it to be shared equitably with everybody. You have your Mercury in that sign also, which means that you're probably adept at all forms of communication. Your Venus is there. Venus is
Hmm.
saying, this is what
Interesting.
this, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
No,
your
no, I'm
Venus is
listening.
there.
I thought you kind of paused there and wasn't sure where you were going. Okay.
Well, so Venus is also there. So the time you were born, the Sun and Mercury and Venus were all in your ninth house. And so Venus is what I value: cash, property, and self worth. Well, it's all in your ninth house. What do you value? You value communication, knowledge, education, and teacher, student, publishing, reaching far and wide. And that's what will bring cash or self worth or property to you. Now, your the moon is in Aries. Privately, uh, privately, privately, it's about fire and passion, and about,
Hmm.
I need to learn in this lifetime to initiate. And so this lifetime you're working on, I am going to initiate things that I want to do. I'm going to bring fire forth. I'm going to go after this. I'm not going to have fear of going after what I want. Um, we can talk about your home. Your home is very Virgo like. It's probably organized, structured. If you have piles, they're organized piles. There's probably been some transformation of different kinds of homes. And now we can go on and on. Like, we can talk
Yeah,
about, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not that interesting, but I gotta say, some of the things that you touched on are very true. There's no doubt about that. I do think like you said, I'm empathic, so I think that kind of ties into how I communicate with people. I do feel them when they talk. And you said something about not liking travel. Did I hear that correctly?
When Mercury stations retrograde, it will definitely muck up your travel, your communication. You will have hiccups with communication on email, phone, text, things that you post, things that you are, it'll be an email that was accidentally sent. It will be missing a flight, something with the car. When Mercury station's retrograde, and it's going to be in like the third week of April, you may notice some kind of a shift that will go on, and it'll be for 3 to 4 weeks, and then there'll be. I look at Mercury retrograde as a time to stop and slow down. That you've been
Hmm.
we grow, and then Mercury says, "I need you to stop and slow down. I need you to go back and look at that contract one more time. I need you to look at cleaning out the closet because you're just collecting so much stuff." Mercury wants us to redo, refresh, review, rewind, rethink areas of our life. And yeah, that's what it's doing.
It's interesting stuff. Regardless of what your personal beliefs may be, these things have enough validity that they hit the nail on the head enough times that they make them very intriguing, and I can understand why so many people have an interest in them. And I can tell you have an enthusiasm for your work, and you enjoy doing what you do. Now, you have a couple of different places that people can find you online. You did mention a podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah, Willow Grace Mystik, Mystik. It's about stronger letters and numerology, and everything is spelled Mystik. So Willow Grace Astrology is on YouTube and a podcast, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Well, you got all the bases covered there.
Got the bases
Uh,
covered there. Yep, find me.
I know you have a lot of viewers on YouTube. Has that experience been good for you? And you mentioned the doubters and things like that. Those people drive your analytics. So
They
I
do.
welcome, yeah. So I welcome the the naysayers as much as the people who say
Yep.
good things. Has the YouTube experience been good for you?
The YouTube is good. YouTube and Facebook have been very good to me. There have been some people who, there's one person, they're a Scorpio, and they comment on every Scorpio video that comes out there
Yeah.
about this isn't true, this can't be true, I don't believe you, this is word salad. And I'm thinking, but you're still listening. You know it's right. And so
Yes.
I'm not here to argue. It takes two
Sure.
people to argue. I am just here to share. It is a free resource for anybody who wants to work with it.
Okay. And obviously, if people do want a reading or anything like that, there's ways to get in touch with you. What's the
Yeah.
best way to do that?
They can reach out at my website, willowgracemystik.com, or they can reach me on my email, willowgrace143 at gmail.com. And yeah,
Now, do you have to do them like in person, or can you do them obviously you talked about me, virtually,
yeah.
so you can do that pretty much in any way somebody's comfortable with.
Yes. So if you're in the area that I am, we can do it in person. If not, we do it through phone or some people are not comfortable with Zoom. And so I can call them. What I do is I email your natal chart. It's about 10 to 15 pages of a description explaining things because even if we spend an hour talking, it's not going to be enough information. I want you to have something to go home to and to be able to look at afterwards. And so there's always a chart and a detailed description of everything that I'm talking about, and then some. And yeah, email, phone, phone, text.
Great. Well, I got to tell you, yeah, it's I knew it'd be an intriguing conversation. It's a topic that people I have found that in my social circles, people to either take this stuff very seriously or at the very least they find it intriguing. Most people check their horoscopes. Most people, when they hear some sort of an analysis of themselves, that they agree that there's a lot that's correct. So it's something that people can find intriguing. It's something that they can find entertaining. Do people actually find any great insights into themselves? Do you find out to be profound a lot of times? Is that common?
A lot of times it's confirmation of this is who I am. And then we discuss areas of difficulty and how to work around it, because not everything is rainbows and butterflies. I mean, we can talk about where Chiron is in your chart and it's a wound, and how do you work with that, and the squares. Like when you look at a chart, the planets that are there's lines, aspects that go from one planet to another. And if they're in blue, that means it's ease and grace. And if it's in red, that means it's a square or a tension point, that's an area that you have to work with. It's not going to be easy for you, but you set this up in this lifetime.
Very good. We have been talking to Patricia Tate. She has the business Willow Grace Mystik, and that's MYSTIK LLC. Willow Grace Mystik LLC. She kind of mentioned the website again is what?
WillowGraceMystik.com, and they can sign up for my email. I send out about once every other week, letting you know about the lunations and the planets and the energy of what to work with. And on YouTube, I put out a new moon, a full moon, and by all 12 signs every month. I'm up to April, so people have an idea of plan through February, March, and April, and you can look ahead.
Awesome, and I've caught your videos and things. You do a great job with those. You've definitely done the digital marketing very well. So there's a lot of places that you can find Patricia online, and obviously, check her out and have some fun with this. It's an interesting thing. Everyone wants to know your sign. Everyone talks about their sign, and everybody talks about this sign has a certain set of characteristics, and it's a lot of fun to get into, especially for couples, I would think, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when couples get into it, yeah, that's you. I bet you that happens a lot.
Yeah, and for children, they'll get them for their children, and they wanna know, "Why is my child like this or acting like," then you can work with it. And a lot of times I do when somebody graduates from high school or graduates from college, uh, before they get married, before there's big decisions to make, a lot of times I'll do a consultation with somebody.
That is great, and that's sometimes getting people to talk is a great thing, and you certainly spark them. You can push them along a little bit with some of your insights. So that is absolutely fantastic, Patricia. Thank you very much for coming on the program today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Once again, Patricia Tate, and you can find her Willow Grace Mystik LLC, and she is an astrology consultant and spiritual health and wellness coach. And wellness, kind of, we didn't get a chance to talk about that a little bit. Before I let you go, just describe wellness, because we hear that a lot, and that's very important in today's world because sometimes people forget to take care of themselves.
So I do energy work. I do Reiki and Akatawa. And so Reiki comes from source and through the person, and Akatawa literally comes from me. And it's basically energy work where it's kind of like laying of hands on people.
Mhm.
And when I'm working on people, I see like a movie in my head, and then I ask. So I'm not able to say, "Hey, grandma is here. Hey, grandpa's here." That's not my skill set, but
Yeah.
I do see movies when I'm working on people. And so then I share with them the information, the message that's supposed to be given to them, and it's supposed to make sense to them, not me. And
Yeah.
so that would be the energy work.
Awesome. Once again, Willow Grace Mystik LLC. Thank you so much for being here. Check out her podcast, check out her YouTube channel, and you can also find her on Facebook. Thank you very much, Patricia. Again, enjoyable conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Billy.
You're very welcome. I'm Billy Dees. Now you can find me on Twitter. That's kind of like my social media home. So at Billy Dees is where I am at on Twitter. In my Twitter bio, I have a set of links that you can pretty much find me anywhere. Billy Dees is always the screen name that I use, either that or the Billy Dees Podcast. I don't have any variations of that. So wherever you're going to find me, that's the name that you find me under. And you can find the Billy Dees Podcast on your favorite podcast network. Thank you very much for checking out our podcast today, and we will talk to you again next week. I'm Billy Dees and host of the self-titled podcast, The Billy Dees Podcast. We are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast featuring authors and creators talking about their craft, advocates for community issues, and myself and an array of co-hosts discussing current events. There's no partisan ranting and raving going on here, just great content. You can find the Billy Dees Podcast on your favorite platform and on Twitter at Billy Dees. Thank you, and I hope you listen in.